Hi everyone, I am recording another lecture. I did have a live lecture today in the class, but there was a bunch of issues. I was debugging things and a short lecture. It should have been a short lecture, but it almost lasted for 2 hours. So I wanted to re-record this lecture so that there is not a lot of confusion, that I can explain everything clearly. I know this is very tedious to do it twice, but I think I would just do it for the sake of clarity. And again, from next week, we won't have live lectures. I'll record all the lectures for module 9, 10, and 11 and put it on Course Gallery. But also I will put a final exam review after I finish the creation of the final exam. I will announce the date. And yeah, so let me share my screen real quick. This is desktop one. Okay, you can see my screen. So just a couple of things. I think you saw that in the announcement that Project 1A, 1B, 1C. If you submit it before April 30, you're gonna get 50% of your grade back. And also if you submit 2A, 2B, and 2C after the deadline, which is for 2C is after Friday noon tomorrow. If you submit it, you're gonna get 70% of your grade back. Project 3, please don't expect too much extension for project 3. So please finish it on time. The TAs do have to finish grading earlier, but it's going to be a little bit different for project 3. You're going to be actually going to office hours and run your scripts and show your emulator to the TAs. And that's how we will be doing project 3. Another thing I wanted to mention was that we have the quiz that's due April 21st. So it's April 17th today. So please work on this. It's all to do with project 2. So I'm sure you'll be able to figure this out. Since the project was such a long and tedious one, right? So let's get started with project 3. So let's get started with project 3. So I'll open this project 3 page here. So today we'll be working on implementing a bottom navigation bar. And today I actually don't have any slides. Most of the theory that I'm going to cover in this class is going to be done in the coding live coding section, but the rest of the things has already been covered. Like for example, recycler views, layouts, fragments, and all these other things has been covered before. So I'm not going to cover that. I'm going to go directly into the code. So we're going to implement a bottom navigation bar, and then we're going to make request to REST API. And then we're going to deserialize the JSON into Kotlin objects. But these are the three things we're going to work on today, but you're going to finish off the project by doing something like this, right? So you will load network images into recycle grade view. So after you finish this is the end of phase 1, right? So I'll be working with you because these are the new things that I haven't shown you guys before. So we'll be working on that today. Um, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is please download this first. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start the coding from the beginning. We're doing a clean slate. We are not using project 2 anymore. I'm just going to download this. So I see that it's downloaded here. All right, so I see it's downloaded here. So let me go to, okay, so this is the zip file that I just downloaded. So let me copy. Oh, I already have this file actually. So let me go back um, to the Android Studio projects. I'm going to go to the lectures. I'm going to call it lecture 11. Lecture 11. And yeah, I'm going to call it lecture 11. I'll start the app, but please work on that. Another thing I want you guys to do before you start the project is get your API key, right? So if you please go to if you go to hold on, let's see, Flickr API key. So if you Google Flickr API key, and go and like try to get this API key. Some of the students today told me that they were not able to get their API key. So please give this a try. Try to sign up. I know like use your email that you don't use frequently because they do spam you with a lot of emails. So when you're creating this key, you need your email. Maybe you need your premium account. So please let me know if you actually need money or you can get this API key for free. So I would like to hear feedback from you. Send me an email, right? I'll make an announcement in the class after that. And if you do need to get the premium, you do have to get it. For the API key, you do need the API key, right? So that's another thing I want you to do. Um, yeah. So that's everything. Let's get started with the project. Another thing is, okay, so I'm going to be recording lecture for 10 and 11 soon. We will not have live lecture. I think it's much more convenient for me and for you. And we have like a significant drop of attendance in the class. So I think it works better for you guys to just watch the video and not attend the live lectures. But I will have office hours and feel free to ask me questions. And I will upload these final exam questions. It's going to be 2 day, 48 hours, open book, open notes exam. And there are going to be three different sections. You will see that if you go to assignments, you will see that you have three different part A, part B, and part C, and you'll have to do all of these, and all of these will carry like 4%, 4%. So the total of the final exam is 12%. So 44%, 4%, and 4. You have to finish all three of these within within 2 days, 48 hours, right? And I think each one of this should be about an hour or 2 hours, right? I can even give you 2 hours for this. Shouldn't take you that long, right? But I'll give you enough time for to solve the final exam. So, all right, so let's get started. Um, okay, so I'm just waiting for something here. So let me show you how the um, code is going to look like. So this is our final. Um, okay, so let me try running the code. Where is the code? Device Explorer. Running devices. Okay. So this is what you will be doing today. You see that all these pictures here. Um, so what we will be working today is in this class is we're going to work on bottom navigation. We'll figure out how to make this gallery and map. This bottom navigation, it should be able to switch. And we won't be creating the map today. It's for project phase 3. We won't be creating that but we will be creating this gallery today, right? So we'll be creating this bottom navigation. That's the first thing. The second thing we'll be doing is we'll be creating like in the phase 2, we had the database where we got all the data stuff, right? We will create the database for all these images, right? So that's what we'll be doing, like create an API. But I'm going to stop there. So you guys will have to figure out to do how to do the rest and create this front end, right? So what do you guys need to do after I create this database is you need to create, so think about this, right? If you worked on project phase 2, it's very similar to project phase 2. Each of these boxes are like the dream list that we saw in project 2, right? So you need to create each of these list items, and then you need to create um, like a gallery image adapter, and then you need to create an image holder, right? And then what you need to do is you need to fetch all the images from the API, the repository that I'll be creating today, and then you need to connect this, put each of this in a holder using an adapter, and then at the end tie everything together and make so that this can be scrolled using the gallery fragment, right? So this might all seem very abstract, but we will work on the bottom navigation and the API and the repository, but the rest you'll have to do yourself for phase 1, right? So this is what it's going to look like. Sure, you should be able to scroll, and this is all coming from that API, right? So another thing is you'll have 99 images here. That's what this is expecting. So this is our project. Um, okay, so project phase, project 3, phase 1. So let me open the file that I just downloaded. I think it was lectures, lecture 11. That's the one that I just downloaded. Um, New window. I'm not sure what that's actually saying, but I hope it's going to be fine. Okay, so let's get started. Let this Gradle is going to build for a little bit. Let's just wait for that. Um, okay, so I think everything is good. Like we see the Kotlin here, and you should see like a P3 test here, Gradle file for project 3 and everything. So this is good. Let's get started now. Let's get started with project 3. The first thing we want to do is we want to create like a menu. It is a bottom navigation, but we're gonna create this using a menu, right? So let's do this. Let's create a menu, create an Android resource file, and then we'll create something called nav menu, and this is for the bottom navigation, right? So we will do menu, and then click on that, and then it should give us this XML file, right? So we'll work on this. We'll work on this menu. We need a couple of things for this menu. Let's see. So we need a couple of things for this menu. Let's go here. Let's go to the design view, and then I'll add a couple of menu items here. This is being the first one. Excuse me, what's happening? Oh, menu item. Sorry, not menu. So I want to add one menu, two menu. One menu is going to be for the gallery, and another one is going to be for um, a gallery, and another one is going to be for. I'm going to go to the. It doesn't have the ID, so I'm going to go to the code view, and I'm gonna add a few things here. First of all, I'm gonna I give the title here as gallery. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do wrap content. I'll just want to wrap the layout height and the layout width. I'm going to give the ID for this as gallery fragment. And I'm going to do the same thing for this as well. I'll just copy and paste this. And instead of item, I'm going to say map. And then here, instead of gallery fragment, we'll change this to map fragment, because this is for the map fragment. And the last thing I want to do is and I think I taught you guys how to do this in, or it's in Piazza post number 74, how to get these icons. Please feel free to follow that. I'm just going to copy um, a grid drawable. I already have this with me, so if you need this, please let me know. I'm just going to copy and paste this. This is a grid, but I think I showed this in Piazza post 74, how to create an icon. If you don't know how to do that, please let me know. I can upload these icons. And then we also need the map. Also, we need placeholder for images. So while the images are being loaded from API, we need to have a placeholder. We're going to use this one, right? So we'll just put this away, grid and all this stuff. And here, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add the icon here. To do the icon, we're going to do Android. We'll just do icon. And then we'll just put we're just going to put the IC underscore grid. So that's the thing that I'm going to put for the gallery. And the same way we're going to put the icon for the map. It's just going to put the underscore map, and that should give me a map here, right? So it doesn't show anything here. I mean, it doesn't show it's a map or anything like that, because we have not done a whole lot of things. So please bear with me on this one. So I think that's all we need to do for the first thing. The second thing is we're going to work on the main activity. Now let's go to the main activity in the layout. This is the activity for your main activity here. Let's work a little bit on this one. Let me close this, and let me zoom this a little bit. We're gonna have to, so we're gonna work with a constraint layout, and maybe this is the first time you are working with this. Um, excuse me. If you want to know more about constraint layout, I think it's in chapter 10. I think it's in this chapter layouts. I think it's in chapter 10 or 11. Please look into that, and it'll give us more information. But constraint layout is more efficient in most cases than linear layout. Linear layout has nested things under it, but in constraint layout, there's a relationship between these different items and buttons and different things. So it makes it the front end a little bit more faster, right? So, but let's start with this. We'll start with this text box is okay. We'll add like a bottom navigation view. and you see it has a constraint. It is um, so it everywhere it is constrained by to the edge of this on the left side, on the right side, on the top and the bottom, right? You see here the layout width and layout height, but it is constrained by the parent on each of these sides. But we'll have to change the one at the bottom, because with the bottom we'll have to put a bottom navigation view. So right, let's do that, right? So let's put a bottom navigation view. We put the bottom navigation view. So that's the bottom navigation view. And let's do a couple of things here. Where am I here? Okay. And in the bottom navigation view, what we want to do here with the bottom navigation view is we want to constrain this. You see this white dot, right? Or you can even press on this plus sign or this white. You need to click and click so that you make it like blue. You just click it and press it to the side. Click it and then press it to the side, and then this became a 0. Or you can just click on this plus sign, and then you see this became blue. That means it's constrained to both the left and the right side, right? We need to do the same. It needs to be constrained to the bottom, right? But at the top, we want to constrain it to the top of the text view, right? We want to constrain it to the top of the text view. To do that, we need to press this, and then we need to put it not here, but at the bottom here. Or maybe that's not right. Excuse me. I'll undo that actually. Let's go to the text view. I think that's going to help us more. We're going to have to, how do I do this? Okay, so I think the better way to do it is just, this is the top off, this is the start off, end off, bottom off, right? In the bottom off, make sure that this is connected to the bottom. Oh yeah, we need to, excuse me, what did I do here? Yeah, just undo whatever I did here, but here just name this ID as bottom nav first, and then here in the bottom of, you need to put this as bottom nav. That still doesn't do anything here. Hold on. Hold on, let's see. Constraint layout has match parent, and then this has, okay, let's do this. Let's make this width as 0 dp, and then height as 0 dp, and then ID. Okay, so here we need to make the width as 0 dp, and this is wrap content. Okay, so this is working now. So what this did was, you can see that it is constrained to the left and to the right and this, but this is still not constrained. It has to be constrained over here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put it here. Now this is working, right? So this layout is constrained to this bottom thing, and then it has parent. I think we need to do this wrap content. Okay, now we can see a little bit here, right? So we can see that we have to do this wrap content as well. All right, so we see it here now, right? So this hello world is constrained by the bottom at the bottom like this, and has parent on either all of this side, right? And the same with the bottom nav at the top. It's yeah, so it's anyway, so it goes all the way on the left and the right and the bottom, but we didn't do anything in this side at the top, right? So that's that should be working. I hope that works. This did cause a lot of confusion in the previous lecture, so I did want to make sure that there's no confusion. So just make sure for this text view that you have wrap content, the bottom is connected to the bottom nav, parent, the text view, and then you have the hello ID, hello world, right? And the bottom nav is it's 0 dp wrap content, and this just parent, parent, and bottom is parent, right? And then this 0, 0, 0, and then this plus, and then the ID is bottom nav. So this is good so far. Okay, so let's go and work with this a little bit more. Um, all right, now the next thing we need to do is we need to create a navigation graph. So let's do that. Let's create a nav graph here. So we will just say give us a new Android resource. We'll just say nav graph. Remember, the nav graph is the one that was helped you do the navigation in the previous assignment. So we're just gonna bring that out, and we need this navigation, right? Because think about this, what are we doing here in the nav menu, right? So in this exercise, we're gonna click on the, in this assignment, we're gonna click on the gallery, and then we're gonna click on the map, and then it's gonna switch back and forth, right? That's why we need the nav graph, right? So we just create this nav graph, and we need to create a new Android resource called the fragment gallery. Let's do that. So we'll create another resource called fragment gallery, and another resource called fragment map, right? So this is for those fragments, right? Because each of those are going to be fragments. When you click on that map icon, it's going to take you to the map fragment, and then if you click on the gallery, it's going to go to the map and gallery fragment, right? So we're just going to create this fragment like this, and this is good. Um, okay, so we do that. The only thing we're going to do here is we're simply going to add a string. So in the gallery fragment, if you go here, we're just going to add a text. And here, the only thing we're going to add is, so again, this doesn't have any constraints. Let's just add a little bit of constraint here. This is the text. So what we're going to do is we're going to just click on this, add a constraint. Oh, excuse me, I shouldn't have done that. So click on this one, not that one. So click on this and then constrain it to all the way here. And the same on this side as well. Or you can click on the plus sign, right? It doesn't matter. And then click on here, go to the bottom, and then we'll constrain it to the top. So it's going to come in the middle, right? So now we're going to change the text. We're going to change it to say gallery for now, so that we know which fragment we're at. So it says gallery, right? So that's all we need to do. We need to do the same thing with the map. We're going to do the same thing here. You can simply press the plus sign here. Actually, put it to 0 though. Don't put it, yeah, put it to 0. Or I can just click on this, and then put it down. Again, if you need more information about constraint layout, please check out the book. It does have a good exercise for this. And then here, the only thing we need to do is we just need to put map. Now in the activity, now you see the map. In the activity main fragment, right? Instead of having this text hello world, we need to replace this with these fragments, right? We need to replace this either gallery or the fragment map. So that's probably what we're gonna work next. Let me see. Okay, so we go here, and then we will get rid of this text view now. We did all the work, but we're gonna delete this here. And then here we're gonna take this nav host fragment, so that this will be used to switch back and forth. Oh, we still haven't done a whole lot with this, have we? Okay, so with the bottom navigation, we still haven't done the bottom navigation. So one thing we need to do here in this bottom navigation is we're just gonna have to add a menu. And here in the menu, we need to add nav menu. That's the menu that we just created, this nav menu. Let's just create that nav menu. And now you see the gallery and the map, right? So here you just saw this like weird thing, but now it's like a full-fledged bottom navigation. We can remove this. I think that's enough for this. And then that's done here. Another thing we need to add here on the top is that to add the fragment and the gallery and the map, we need the nav host fragment, right? So we'll just put this nav host fragment here. And then we need to give the nav graph. We'll just give this nav graph. It doesn't have anything right now, but we'll just still have this nav graph, right? Again, now we need to put the constraints. Bottom nav is good. This let's see, it doesn't have a constraint. So let's put the constraint on the left side all the way. Just make sure this is 0 to the right, to the top. And then in the bottom, we need to have a constraint with the gallery, right? So this has to have it has to be at the top of this thing, right? So to do that, we're gonna add, let's see what it's called. Let me go. So let's go to the code over here and add something like this, right? It has constraint end of, start of, top of. We need at the bottom of here, right? Constraint bottom, bottom to top off, right? So we need bottom to top off, right? So we need bottom to top off, and then the top off is gonna be the bottom navigation, right? So if you go here, now you see this is connected, like this is constrained by the bottom, and then you see the parent, which is good, right? So they're still giving us some issues, right? So let's do this. I'm just gonna change some few things. We don't need this 0 dp, which is good. Now you can see this, right? Now you can see this come up. This is constrained by this thing, right? It's constrained by the top. And then you ID bottom, you see the parent, true. We're gonna call this fragment container. This is actually gonna be useful. Later, we're gonna call it the fragment container. We're gonna refactor it. And then we need to add a layout here. We'll do a tools layout. I don't see it here. So let's go to the code view. Let's just write it on the, sometime it does some weird things. I think that might be the issue. It's giving this error. In here for the tools, just to see here, we're just gonna put, okay, we don't need this one. So we're just gonna put the fragment gallery here. The fragment gallery, we're just gonna put it in this container, right? In this container. Still giving me an issue here. I'm not sure what that issue is. I don't know what I did here. Let me remove all of that stuff. Let me just go here and actually type it out myself. Maybe that helps. I'm not sure why it's not giving me the layout here. It's working now. Layout, I'm gonna add the fragment gallery. Still giving me an error. I wonder why that is. Let's go to the design and see if this, I'm not sure what's happening, but yeah, actually there was no issues before that. I wonder what happened here. We had a navigation. I don't know what happened here. It just, I'm not sure exactly what happened. There's something that's happening with my Gradle or whatever here. Let's try to run this again. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's giving me a weird issue here. So this is good. It's constrained in all sides. Navgrab, we'll still haven't worked on that. We'll work on that. This is good. I am not sure what's happening with the activity main. Maybe I can just delete this and create this from the beginning. Let me just do that. I don't know what's going on today. Just getting a lot of weird issues. I think that was just, I thought that was straightforward, but Let's just create activity main. And then I'm just going to create the activity main here again. And it's still giving me issue. I don't know why. This is very, very frustrating. Let me restart the Android app. I'm not sure. I shouldn't have probably even deleted that. I had done all that work and I had to delete that. So let me, please pardon me. This is not my fault. I don't know. Something is happening. Like it's very frustrating to record the Android, like the whole lecture twice, but I have to do it. So please bear with me. Let's close this. Let me allow the Gradle to get configured. I'm not sure exactly what's happening here. So yeah, I think everything seems to be fine right now. Let's go to the activity main. It still says initializing. Okay, so this is good. At least we have this. Let's work on this again. This is a little bit frustrating, but we'll have to work on it again. Okay, so we need to go to the container and then we need to go to the nav host fragment. Let's put that nav host fragment and put that navigation net graph. And the second thing we want to do is put the bottom navigation view. And then we do need to add the constraints for this again. So let's start from the beginning here. It did throw us off a little bit. Let's do 0 DP since this is going to be managed by the constraints. 0 DP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it to the left, 0, which is good. To the right, which is good. You do something for the top as well, I think. And then let's work on this bottom nav. I'll call this bottom nav. And then let's work on this bottom navigation a little bit. And then let's do this as 0 DP. We're gonna do height as wrap content. And then we're gonna add some constraints. Again, we're gonna add constraints on the left, on the right, and to the bottom. And then make it this as 0, make this as 0. It does go to the bottom, right? Which is good. Wrap content parent. It's called the bottom now. The only thing we need to add is the menu. For some reason, it was not getting the menu. So we need to go here to the code view and then add the menu here. Let's do that. For the menu, we're gonna just add a nav menu that we just created. Nav menu is this menu that we created here. So now if you look at this is going to create this gallery and this thing, right? So that's all we need to do here. For this fragment container, we need to do a few things. Yes, this is good. We did 0 DP, that's good. We did the top and the bottom. We also need to do the top. And we need to connect this bottom to this top of this, right? So let's do that. To do that, we just need to, I think we already did this before, but let's do this again. We need to connect the constraint bottom of to top of the bottom nav, right? So if we do that, now you see this is constrained. So 0 DP 0 dp 0 dp, bottom nav parent true, fragment. So let's name this something else as well. I'm gonna call this fragment container, which we're gonna use it later. Let's refactor this, and this is good. There's one more thing we need to do. We need to add the layout. So to do that, we're gonna add the layout of the fragment gallery, right? So the layout here is for the fragment gallery. We need to make sure that this gallery is shown in this fragment, right? To do that, we're just gonna do tools, layout, and we need to import these tools. I just imported that. And now if you go back, the errors are gone, and then the gallery is added here. And here we're gonna switch between gallery and map, right? So that's good. I think that's, it was a little bit frustrating, but I think we made it through. And we need to create a couple of classes here. We're almost done with many of the things that we need. So we need to create a fragment here. The first fragment we're going to create is going to be called the gallery fragment. And the second fragment we're going to create is going to be called the map fragment. And this is the fragment that you guys will be working for in this project, right? So we have already done all of this before. I'm not gonna explain this code from now on, but you'll have to, you should have already learned how to do this and create the fragment. So I'm just gonna write the code. I'm not gonna explain what this backing variable, all this binding, all this stuff. I'm gonna let you guys figure that out, right? Because we've already done this before. Binding equals, binding, not equals, fragment, gallery binding, no, not that one. And then second thing, we want to make private val. That's the backing variable that we made, but we need to make another variable. And I've already shown you all of this, why we need to do all of this stuff in the previous lectures. So please check that out if this is confusing for you. And then we need to add that backing variable here, check if it's not null. And then we need to give, and this is what we did in the previous project, right? F gallery binding is null. And we're gonna work on the onCreate view. And then we're also gonna create onDestroy view. And like I said, we've already worked on all of this before, right? So we're gonna do the binding on the backing variable equals to fragment gallery binding inflator container, and then false. We have done all of this before. Now here, instead of returning this, we're going to do binding dot root, right? And then here we just need to make that this backing variable is a null, so that there is no like memory leaks, right? So basically we're going to do the same thing for map fragment as well. Let me copy and paste this. The only thing that's going to be different in the map fragment is we're going to use the fragment map binding. And then we also, the message is going to be f map binding is null. And then we're going to do the same thing, fragment map binding dot inflate binding. Let me check if I got everything right here. Fragment map binding. Yeah, this is good. So this is just some boilerplate code that we have done before, and I think that's good. Now let's go to the nav graph. Let's fix some things with the nav graphs. And then we're going to add the gallery fragment and the map fragment to this nav graph. So we're going to add the gallery fragment and the map fragment. So I'm just going to put the map over here. It doesn't really matter. And then we're going to change the name. We're going to change this name to, so here we're going to change a few things here. So we're going to add, so the gallery fragment, we're going to name the ID as gallery underscore fragment. Excuse me. And then here we're going to do map underscore fragment. Um, and here we're going to do gallery fragment. And then one more thing we will add here is the layout. We need to add the layout so that we get this from this fragment gallery and fragment map. So let's add that. And then let's import this as well. And let's do the same here. Instead of fragment gallery, we'll say fragment map. And this is simply putting this in this layout. Right now you will see that it's loading. It'll just say map and gallery, right? So that's all we need to do. Let me double check if I got everything here. Yeah, so I think I got everything here. Gallery fragment and map fragment. All right, so that's all we need to do here. The next thing we're going to do is finally we're going to go to the main activity, and we'll be doing something you might not have seen before. So this is the place where I got stuck in the lecture for like 20 minutes. It was a very simple issue. And I messed it up a little bit. So let me do this. Val binding equals to activity main binding. This is very similar to what we've done before. It's just connecting to this activity main, and then we're just to inflate, and then use the layout inflator to inflate this in the code activity. And then we're going to create something called the nav host, and then say support fragment manager, find fragment by ID, r.id dot fragment containers as nav host. So what this is doing basically is, hold on. So this is the standard bottom navigation. Requires this line of code. It finds the nav host fragment, right? So if this is fragment container, if you go to this activity main, we have this fragment container, right? So it just finds this fragment container, and then it connects it with this nav host. So this allows you to switch between these different items, right? It allows you to switch between gallery and map, right? Also, like it will also change the selected icon state. So this will get darker when you click that, and this will get darker when you click that, right? So it's gonna switch back and forth between that, right? So that's the first thing we want to do. Let me just change this real quick. We're gonna have to do binding.root. That was the issue, actually. This is what I messed up in the last lecture, and it took me forever to figure that out, right? I don't want that to happen again. Excuse me. I drink some water. The next thing we want to do is we want to do binding dot bottom nav. We want to connect the bottom nav, and then set up that nav host with the bottom nav. Now set up with nav controller, and then this nav host. And one of the reasons we cast this as nav host, this is basically casting it, right? Is because so that we can get this nav controller. This will allow you to control as you are clicking it, right? And there's one more thing you need to do. So there's two more things actually, but one more thing just for this assignment. Bottom nav set item set on item selected listener, and then item, and then here I'll explain this to you real quick. Navigation UI dot on nav destination selected item nav host dot nav controller. So basically what this is going to do is, like, every time you click on, like, say you click on gallery or map, it's just going to select the destination. It's going to look at where it is right now. It's going to look at where it wants to go, and basically based on the item that you click, that's basically which bottom navigation you click, that's where it's going to go, right? So that's all it's doing. But we need to do one more thing, right? This is optional, but I highly recommend you guys put this, because this makes this navigation thing very, very smooth. Add this thing called on item reselected listener, right? So if you keep on selecting this item, click keep on clicking gallery, gallery, you keep on clicking and clicking it again, right? You don't want this to be stored in the backstack, right? So to do that, this item on reselected, this helps to make this smoother. Actually, you also need to put the true. This tells you that this action has been completed when you pass the true. So here, nav host dot nav controller dot pops backstack, and then you put the item and then the item ID. Item ID is basically the ID that's for gallery and the map, and then you just put false, right? So it makes this transition very smooth. So this is optional, but I highly recommend that you put this in the code, and that should be it. Like, so if I run this code, I hope it doesn't mess me up again, mess up the code again. So yeah, this should be enough. This is for the reselecting the same icon. This is for selecting and going to a particular direction, right? So let's see if this works. After this works, we're going to start working with the API now. Um, yeah, I'm going to start working with the API, and that's all. That's all the hint I'm going to be giving you guys for today. This is launching. Okay, you see it says it's gallery, right? And you see this has this darker sign because this is the active one. If we click on this one, that one becomes active and it switch to map, right? And this does a very smooth transition. If I go back from here, then you see it went back to this. And if I click on that one, you see it went back because it was a very smooth transition, right? That's why you want to add this code in here. So this is working. Oh, we are done with the bottom navigation. That's the bottom navigation part of your project. I hope you guys can finish that, right? So let's now work with the APIs, right? That's what a new thing that we're going to learn again after the bottom navigation. Give me 1 second here. All right, so let's get started. So let's create something called gallery item, and you'll understand why I'm creating this. But let me just create something called gallery. I think it's a data class, or is it a class? Let's just create it. I can change that later. Gallery item. So let's start with this. Let's create a gallery item. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing. It's going to be called JSON class. So it's going to be by Moshi. So just get this JSON class. I'm going to explain what this is doing, and then put this generator adapter as true. So what this is basically doing is tells Moshi to automatically generate JSON parsing code for this class, right? Say like if you have, so let me just explain this a little bit better here. Hold on, you have gallery item, you have the photo response, the response. Okay, let me just add this. I'm just gonna to explain this to you guys. So your API is gonna look something like this, right? You have a bunch of photos, like a lot of these photos. You have this page number, page 10 per page total. All these are, I'm not saying this is what the API looks like. I'm just guessing what this looks like. And then you have this ID, you have the title, and then you have the URL where the image is supposed to be fetched from, right? So this is what it's gonna look like, right? So now you want to convert all of these into Kotlin variables. We want to convert all this JSON into Kotlin, right? So this is what this is doing basically. This annotation basically tells Moshi to automatically generate JSON parsing code for this class, right? So it just parses this code and puts in this variable, right? So this is all that this is doing. And I actually need to like make this like a data class. Yeah, so it should look like this. And then just it has to not be it has to not be a curly brace, but like this kind of bracket. Just remember to do that. And then you have the title and the string. So it's automatically gonna, if it has a title as in the JSON, then it's automatically gonna map this to this in this Kotlin variable, right? It does it automatically. And then ID, and we're gonna make this string as well. And again, this ID is automatically gonna be mapped from JSON to here. And let's do one more thing. Oh, we need comma here. The last thing is we want the URL, but we want to make it as URL instead of URL underscore s, right? So to do that, we want something called JSON by Moshi. And again, we're gonna ask this thing URL underscore s. That's the one that is in the API. What we're gonna name is name it URL in our Kotlin class, right? So that's what we're gonna do here. So that's good. So this is gonna map all of these things inside the photo in the gallery item here like this, right? So that's the first thing we want to do. The second thing we want to do is we want to go get a photo response, right? This is going to be very similar to what we have done so far. Let's get this and do this. We're gonna, oh, what just happened here? And we're gonna get a Kotlin class, and we're gonna name a data class here this time. And then we're gonna do photo response, and then we'll do the data class here, right? And in this data class, we're gonna copy and paste the same thing because we also still want it to parse. Now this is good. Another thing we want to do here is all these photos that you see, right? All these photos, we want to have a array of this. Like we want several of these photos bound together in an array list, right? So to do that, simply what we need to do is we're going to do JSON by Moshi, and then name it photo because that's what is in the API. And then we're going to name it gallery items. And then we need to make a list of, so we need an array of these things, right? Array of these photos, right? This is what we got it the first time here, right? But we need to get an array of this, right? So we need to get a list of this, sorry, not array, but list of this gallery item, right? So we need to get a gallery item for this. And what this is going to do is it's going to explicitly map the photo field in the JSON to a Kotlin property gallery items, right? It's going to map this photo thing into this gallery item and make a list of those things, right? So that's what all we're doing for photo response. We're gonna have to make one last thing for mapping all this stuff. We're gonna make another, excuse me, data class, another data class, and we're gonna call it Flickr response. Let's name it Flickr response. And here we're going to tie everything together, right? We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to copy and paste this JSON. And then here we're going to say val of photos. And then the only thing this photos will have is going to have this photo response. That means it will store all the array of these gallery items, right? So we're just going to say photo response. So this thing, one thing will store all of the pictures from this API, and everything is going to be stored in this, mapped in this Flickr response, right? So that's everything we need to do. The last thing we need to do is we need to tie everything together and create an API. So let's do this. I'm going to create a new package, name it API. And in this API, I'm going to simply do Kotlin class. And it has to be an interface because it's an interface. So because this is a retrofit API interface, right? So we define the HTTP request as an abstract function in here, and the interface and the retrofit is gonna generate the implementation at runtime, right? So that's all that is doing. This is like a database, but everything is being fetched from online, right? I'll do a Flickr API. Here it's gonna be an interface. And here, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna do a private const val API key. And this is not a best practice. This is a really bad practice, actually, your API key. You need to go to their website and they will give you an API key. So you need to get this from the Flickr website, right? And please let me know if you need a premium account. just let me know so that I can make an announcement in the class. Please try that and give me your feedback, right? This API key, you want to put it securely in the build config file. This is not a good practice, but for the sake of time and this project, I'm just gonna follow what the book does, right? The book just simply puts the API key here, so that's what I'm gonna do. But usually, if you're developing an app in a company or something, you want to hide this API key, right? This is pretty sensitive stuff. You don't want to put it in your code. All right, so okay, so that's the interface. And in the interface, you want to call this get thing from the API, right? There's this get command in the API, right? The get command gets stuff for you, right? And then you need to pass a bunch of variable for this, right? This is the interface, and we're gonna tie everything together here. For here, I'm just gonna copy and paste what I've done here. Is you're gonna just pass a bunch of variable here. First of all, you want to pass um, so you see the services REST method. So the first thing is like you need to get request for Flickr interestingness.getList. This is where you want to get those images from this endpoint and with these parameters, right? You want to pass the API for authentication. You want the JSON file. You don't want any other format. The JSON, and then also um, it disables JSON wrapping. And the last thing is you want this URL URLs, this images also to be passed to you, right? So that's all you need to do. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to fetch the photos, right? This is the interface, and we want to make sure that we're going to fetch the photos. And here we're going to make a query, right? We're going to make a query. Remember, this is a suspend function because this is a thread. It has to work on a separate thread, right? While it's fetching from the online, it has to be done um, um, in a separate thread, right? And now we need to be able to accept the page size, right? So we need, in your assignment, you want 99 images, right? So we want to make sure that we can query this to your to the API, right? So we want to pass something, the per page thing. If you can see here, this per page thing, we want to get 99 of these, right? So here we're just gonna get the per page, and then we're gonna get past this thing called page size, and if we pass 99 over here, it's gonna query this as a per page size while it's going to that API, right? So that's all that is doing, and then it needs to give you this Flickr response. Um, it will convert all of this as a Flickr response and save it as a Kotlin variable, right? So Flickr response, that's gonna save everything as a as this variable. So now this needs to be called from the repository, right? I'm gonna show you that. That's the last thing we will do, and this is where you'll get the all this API stuff from, right? So fetch photos per page, you'll pass this as 99, I think, and then you'll get this Flickr response, which is basically all these photos and the galleries and all this stuff, right? So that's all that's happening here, right? So that's all that we're doing. I think the last thing I want to do is make a photo repository. So the photo repository is, remember, if you remember the Dream database, we had a Dream repository. In a similar way, we want to create a photo repository, not a Java class. That I hope that's okay. All right, so we need to create a photo repository. Hope I spelled that correctly. And photo repository. And then now you want to call this private val Flickr API, and then we're gonna call the Flickr API. And again, this is gonna throw an issue because remember, this is an interface, right? It has to be initialized. It has to be initialized, right? So we're gonna call the init, and then we have to do a bunch of things here. This might look a little bit weird, but just bear with me. HTTP login interceptor dot apply and then level equals to, this is just some code that you need to be able to do, right? Okay, so level dot basic. All right, so all this code is doing is This logs basic info about HTTP request responses like URL and response code. So if you are familiar with APIs, you get those response codes and URL and all these kinds of stuff, right? So this is important for that. The second thing we're going to do is the interceptor client. And then here we're going to do OK HTTP client.builder. We're going to do dot add interceptor. And here we'll add the interceptor that we created. And then we're going to build this. So this is all important to create the retrofit, to all connect, all tie all of this as a retrofit and send it to online, right? We want to send all of this online. So, and the last thing we're going to do is we're going to create this retrofit. It's going to tie everything together and this is going to be retrofit. And then we're going to tie everything. We're going to build this retrofit.builder. And then here we're going to add the base URL. This is where so I already have this. Let me just copy and paste this here. I have the base URL, so it's going to be from the Flickr website. This is the Moshi converter is the one to convert. And then we're going to use this interceptor, and then we're going to build it, right? So just copy this code. This is just, and I think a lot of this stuff is done in the book, right? I'm just trying to explain this thing. And then you have the Flickr API. Now you need to initialize this, right? Retrofit.create. Select the second one with the brackets, and then you should be able to import this retrofit create. Now it should stop giving an error. Now this retrofit is created, and now you can call all of this from this interface, right? So this is working. The last thing we want to do is we want to call the suspend function. We initialize this. We want to call, and remember this photo repository is a single source of truth, right? Everything that goes to your front end, this is the whole repository. Now we don't want to look at the API, all this stuff, right? This is all, we don't want to look at any of this stuff. This is all that we don't want to look at this and confuse people, right? So everything is going to come from photo repository, like a database, right? This is like the one place where you get all the stuff like we did with the database, right? Now we want to do fetch photos, and then we're going to create a page size. We just put 100 by default. Just put that by default, and then it's going to give us the list of gallery item. Actually, it's going to give us a list of Flickr. What is that? Flickr API. Where is Flickr API? It's going to give us a list of Flickr response, but instead of Flickr response, we want Flickr API.fetch photos and then page size. So instead of the Flickr response, we need the photos from there and then the gallery items, right? So we need, instead of this Flickr response, from the Flickr response, we're going to call the photos, and from the photos, we're going to call, from the photo response, we're going to call the gallery items, right? That's what we need. We need the list. Where did that go? Yeah, we need the list of those items, right? So this is all I'm going to do here. I'm going to stop here. Okay, here is what you need to do from here now, right? There's few things that you need to do to finish project phase 1. I mean, project 3 phase 1, right? So this is done here, right? So you need to make list item gallery, where you make room for one image. Remember, in the project Dream database project, right, you had to make a one XML file for that list, right? That had the dream, the reflection count, it had that thing, and then you needed to bind that. You need to bind that to gallery item holder using gallery item adapter, right? So you have to do the exact same thing that we did in project 2. I think there is a lot of details in the book regarding this this topic, right? So do that. That's the second thing. Then you need to create a gallery view model. And again, the gallery view model is going to fetch the image, the fetch photos from this fetch photo from the photo repository, right? So remember to do that. And you need to use a Stateflow or whatever that we used in the previous project, but you need to please follow the book, right? I think it's going to be much easier if you follow the book. This is going to fetch picture from the photo repository. The last thing we want to do is we want to to finish with gallery fragment, right? So you need to add all this code, pull from the view model and everything, and finish in the gallery fragment. Gallery fragment. And you need to pass from this gallery fragment, you need to pass the picture to this adapter and item holder and all this, right? And we have done all of this stuff before, right? So these are the things you need to do, and I think this should be the end of project two, I mean three, phase one, right? So if you do this, this should be the end of it. I hope this makes sense. We created the API, we created the bottom navigation. All you need to do is finish off the front end, right? And that should be the end of this project, right? So let me stop sharing. That's the end of that. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to record a video for module 10 and module 11 soon, and also for the final exam review. So all the best. I wish you the best for this project. Thank you.